Hello, my name is Stephen Mayeux, and in this video series, I'm walking you through the React challenges at freecodecamp.com. Okay, we're working on the first project, build a Markdown Previewer. And, excuse me, I just, some spit went down the wrong tube. In the last few videos for this course, I walked you through setting up your project on CodePen, and we got our HTML and our CSS, or Sass, already hooked up. Sass, we just need a little bit, and this isn't a tutorial on styling or CSS, so keeping it to a bare minimum. And the HTML, surprisingly, is very, very sparse. Like we just have a couple of div tags, and that's it. Okay, so we're about to go into the React side of things. And before I do that, before I write any code, I just want to take some time and explain like some fundamental concepts of React. And this stuff it's not rocket science, but I mean there is a learning curve, and there's a lot to learn. But once you get it, it's just like, oh wow, this is amazing. So yeah, I just want to preface this. If you're ever stuck, or if you ever have any questions, please let me know. You can contact me using the comment form below. You can reach out to me on GitHub or email or whatever you want to do. That's totally cool. But anyway, let's go over the concepts, probably the most important concept in a React project. And that concept is components. Every React application is made up of at least one component, but probably many more. For this application, we're going to use one component. Okay, one component. So all this right here, okay, all this HTML, the header and the text box and this element right here, okay, this is being generated by a component, and then I just output it right here. Let me show you in this div that I gave a class of render target. Okay, so in React applications, you build your page. Excuse me, there's some dust in the air. I'm outside. You build your page, and you build it with components. This is really great because it makes your code and your project more modular, so everything can be well organized and in specific folders for specific features. Also, components are reusable, and if you follow the DRY principle of coding, DRY, D-R-Y, don't repeat yourself. If you follow that principle, then you'll really love React because all the components are reusable. So you do it one time, you write it up, and you can use it again and again and again for for your current project, or you can save them later in the future for future projects. Okay, now there are two types of components, and it doesn't matter what type you use. All components in a React application must return some JSX. And all JSX is, it's this HTML-like syntax that gets compiled and inserted like real HTML. That's all JSX is. Okay, it looks like HTML, and there's a few little differences, but for the most part, if you just glance at it, it looks like regular HTML, and all components must return JSX. Okay, so I told you earlier, like 1 minute ago, there's two types of components. Well, there are functional components, and there are class-based components. And in the next video, we're going to discuss when you would use a component, a functional component, and when you would use a class-based component. Right now, let me show you how to set up, your project on the React side of things, And we'll just get something on the screen to make sure everything is working. Okay. For this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to do it using a functional component. And in the next video, we're going to change it over and I'll make it a class-based component. And for this project, I'm going to use a class component because of reasons, which we'll get to in the next videos. But let's go ahead and let's just test it out, make sure everything is working by using our just a functional component. Now again, CodePen is quite different from other dev environments. So what I'm going to show you now is going to be quite different from outside of CodePen. But okay, enough of that. Let's just do it. All right, I'm going to use some ES6 syntax. First, let me just put some code on the screen, and then we will talk about it. So const app. Okay. Okay, so const app, all right, what is this? All right, this is a variable. This is a new variable type in JavaScript. It's a constant, and once you initialize it, you can't change its value. So that's pretty cool. You can't change the value, and the other type of variable is let. We can use let, we can use const, but this isn't going to change, so we might as well keep it const. All right, now what the heck is this? This is called a fat arrow function in ES6. And essentially, it's the same thing. It's just writing function and your curly braces. Okay, that's all we are doing. So this is just like a typical function expression. So we're setting a variable equal to an anonymous function. And in ES6, it's a little different. All right, first, we get rid of the function keyword. Next, we give it this fat arrow. It's like this equal sign and followed by, I guess that's the greater than symbol. So it kind of looks like an arrow. And then your brackets like as usual. Okay, and that's the new way to write a function in ES6. It's a little bit different in the behavior of a traditional function if you already know JavaScript, but we're not going to get into that for this video. You can use both the ES5 or the ES6 function, but here it is. Okay, there it is. So this app variable, that is the name of our component. We're going to call this component app. And that's just going to be like one big component that represents everything that we see. Normally you wouldn't do it that way. It's not a good idea to just make one big component. It's a good idea to make many small components so your code is drier and more modular. But for this example and for this project, we're just going to make one component. Okay. And remember, components, whether they are functional or class-based, it needs to return some JSX. So let's do that right now. We're going to write return, and your JSX, it's HTML essentially. So let's give it a div, and in that div, let's say hello. Okay. Now, nothing is happening because, well, yeah, we got some code. We got this fat arrow function, and it's returning some JSX right here. But that's it. We need to actually insert this into the DOM, okay, into the web page, and we do that at the bottom. So remember earlier we imported our JavaScript libraries. We imported React and React DOM. Now it's time for React DOM to actually insert our components into the web page. So we're going to write React DOM, and DOM, D-O-M, is all uppercase. So keep that in mind. All right, render, and now we need to include the component. So I'm going to write app. So open bracket, and then self-closing bracket, just like that, comma. And now let's use some JavaScript to target this div that we put up in there. Can I? There we go. So we have this div with the class of render target. Let's select that and render our app there. So I'm going to write document query selector, and I believe render target. All right, and there you go. You don't see it very well because this is some small text, but there we have it. Hello. So this is JSX. Technically not HTML, but it looks pretty darn close to HTML. And our component is returning this JSX, which we have inserted into render target, that div in our HTML file. So all of the HTML we're actually generating in our JavaScript file with React. So that's kind of crazy. And a lot of people, they have opinions about this, but I don't care about those opinions. I think React is pretty darn cool. Now, if you have a simple return statement with just like one line, that's okay. You can do it right here. You can also bring it out on 2 lines, and this is also fine. But my preferred way of doing return statements is in JSX is like this. Open parentheses, like that, and then writing my JSX. And remember, JSX, for the most part, it looks exactly like, won't let me do any shortcuts. It looks exactly like HTML. All right, and there we go. So we have a multi-line return statement, and we have a header with H1, and there it is. Hello. I'm going to show you one more thing here, because this always tripped me up in the beginning, and then we'll stop and go to the next video. One more thing. When you are writing JSX, you cannot have adjacent tags sitting next to each other. Everything has to be wrapped in like one overarching element. Let me show you what that means. So I'm going to write another div tag here, and I'll do an H2. Okay. And let's see what happens. All right. So CodePen, it does a pretty good job of showing some things automatically. Okay, nothing is happening, and actually it's giving me an error right here. So adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. All right, so all we have to do is take these divs right here. I'm going to just cut them out. All right. Let's just wrap it in an enclosing tag, like the error told us to do. Okay, whoops, and oh goodness, I think we can just tidy this up rather quickly. Tidy.js. Okay, there we go. So we still have our adjacent tags, but it's okay because it's wrapped in an enclosing tag. And as you can see at the bottom, with our output, everything looks good, and there's no errors or anything like that. So that's wonderful. Okay, so this is a functional component, and I showed you how to return some JSX, and don't have adjacent tags like this one, so they're right next to each other. You need to wrap everything in one enclosing tag. And this is how you make it all appear on the screen with this React DOM .render method. You pass in the main component, and then you select where you actually want to inject that. Okay, so this video has been 15 minutes. That's quite long. Let's stop here. In the next video, I will show you how to write a class-based component, and then we'll actually bang this out and finish the project. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye. Boop.